Hello, today I'm going to be reviewing The Heroes by Joe Abercrombie. This is the fifth book in the First Law world following the original trilogy and Best Served Cold. And I will keep this totally spoiler free. I'm not even going to mention any names of characters in case you haven't read any of those previous books and it's a spoiler for you to know who lives and who dies. But this is a 3-day battle book. There are 5 sections in it. There's a whole section before day 1 of battle. There's day 1 of battle, day 2, day 3, and then after the battle. And if you're somebody who loves Stephen Pacey's narration, I still highly recommend picking up a physical copy of this book because there is a huge cast of characters. You have the Northmen versus the Union men, and there are so many characters, there are so many side characters, and there are maps in this book. So I think it's very helpful to have a physical copy at hand. I found this book thoroughly entertaining. So in the First Law world, you can imagine what Joe Abercrombie means when he talks about the heroes in the title. And in fact, the back of the book says 3 men, 1 battle, no heroes. So it goes without saying that heroicism isn't quite the heroicism that we make it out to be in our minds when we read fantasy or look at history. And I think he brings up some good questions about it. I mean, what does it mean to be a hero when some of the virtues that go along with being a hero, steadfast loyalty, determination, going headfirst into battle without, backing out. And as a result, you might have to sacrifice some of your humanity to do that. But there are other perspectives that he weaves in through different characters. For example, does being a hero mean being a glorified errand boy who harbors secret lustful feelings for another man's wife, as well as the glamour of violence? Is being a hero being somebody with a strategic mindset, but who is a backstabbing coward? Is being a hero a man with a bad knee who tries to do the right thing, but maybe the right thing is putting your foot in your mouth? Is being a hero being somebody who finds a romantic partner who has all the virtues that you lack, someone you can work with or work on? Is being a hero being a young boy who dreams about the glory of war and then learns what it really means to make a name for oneself? Is being a hero being an incompetent leader who finds redemption through dying in battle? Is being a hero being a reckless leader at the cost of the men who follow you through battle? So I feel like all these perspectives are explored and more. And while you might think this is just one big long commentary on heroicism, and I think a lot of the book might be, it still goes somewhere very interesting towards the end. And I won't say it's the most unpredictable ending. I feel like it's an ending that made sense and that I felt like I should have seen coming. I'm not usually the best when it comes to predicting the way things will end. And I didn't even really try to do that in this book. I don't usually try to do that when I read books. But I feel like the way it came together was perfect. I feel like even if you did predict where things were going, I feel like Joe Abercrombie has such a good way of executing these type of endings that only Joe Abercrombie can do. So I still thought it was just so thoroughly entertaining, even if I had known what was coming. And another thing I will say too about this book is Joe Abercrombie's writing style. So I just think that Joe Abercrombie, I think he is so funny. I think most people agree with that. And of course, he has such distinct characters, incredible witty banter between characters, incredible dialogue. But I also really love what he does in the moments between when people are speaking. I think he has a prose style that draws attention to itself. He has an incredible use of simile in his prose. And so just to give you an example, but this is way funnier when you're reading it in context. But one example is, it was like getting up on a table and calling for chastity in a brothel. Or another example is, like he thrived on their hatred, like a flower on shit. I just love lines like that. I think they're so funny. And because this is a prose style that kind of draws attention to itself, I feel as though when I'm reading an Abercrombie book, I'm kind of more of a spectator than I am someone who is immersed in the story in the same way that I would be immersed in a story that calls for me to feel a deep empathy with the characters, if that makes sense. So in that particular scene, there are a bunch of men who are laughing. And I'm laughing at that scene, but I'm not laughing with the men. I'm kind of laughing at the men laughing, if that makes sense. So in that way, I always feel kind of like a spectator, but it's still so entertaining. Another way that I feel that Abercrombie does this is in the way that he brings back certain characters. So, for example, there's a character who returns in this book. And when you see this character through other character perspectives, you kind of see this character from one way, from one perspective. But because you've read the previous books, you know why this character is the way he is. And so it's so funny to you as a reader. So again, I just feel as though I'm sort of seeing this from a distance perspective, but it's one that is still thoroughly entertaining. It still kept me turning the page constantly. And I just had so much fun with this book. And I think that Abercrombie, also with his characters and the way that he constructs character narratives and things like that, he always gets me thinking about psychology again. So I have studied a little bit of psychology, and he always makes me think of attribution theory, which I know I've mentioned in previous videos I've done on Abercrombie. But attribution theory is basically what you attribute your success to, whether you attribute it to luck or to effort or to ability or to task difficulty, and how much of that is within your locus of control, your perception of control. And I just find it interesting the way that heroism is explored in that way, and the way that characters perceive their own agency, or how much agency they perceive they have, or how much luck they feel they have, and how much luck they really have. And it's just so fascinating the way that Abercrombie explores that, especially in this book. I won't go into that because of spoilers. I don't know if I'll be doing some kind of discussion on this book. I did buddy read it with Gregory LaPerche, and I highly recommend checking out his channel because I'm sure he's going to say some fantastic things about this book, either in a wrap up or in a separate review. But I just had such a good time. And I do recommend buddy reading these books because it is so much fun when you're reading these books to read some of the quotes and some of the jokes along the way and share them with others. So I'm going to be reading Red Country with Ben from Overly Average Ben. And Joanna Sousa reached out to me about buddy reading Sharp Ends. So it's fun to have some friends along the way to read these books with. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you read this book? Are you planning to read it? Have you read any other Abercrombie? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know if you agree with what I said about kind of feeling like a spectator when you're reading these books. I'd be curious to hear if that's your experience too. And have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.